All right. All right. All right, good friends in the gallery. Order. Order in the gallery. There's such a word us local people call all the time. Respect. Always respect. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're on amendment number 21. Representative Marcus Oshiro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I have a floor amendment to offer. Floor amendment number 21.
Okay, thank you very much. Clerk, has the copies been distributed?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Copies of floor amendment number 21 have been distributed.
Thank you very much. Representative Marcus Oshiro, will you make a motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of floor amendment to number 21.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Second the motion.
Speaker, say. Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Representative Marcus Oshiro.
Mr. Speaker, this is a similar amendment to the prior floor amendments, but I want to just highlight what I'm trying to do here. First of all, Mr. Speaker, I believe that the current House Draft 1 is deficient in that it seeks to provide protections for the religious exemptions of both the solemnizers and for the use of the facilities. I had a chance to review the Connecticut statute and review the same. The deficiency is basically in that this law or this draft here does nothing to hold off any cause of action or administrative proceeding or any civil claim or cause of action or any state action against the violators of this statute. It runs afoul of also not providing coverage for the subdivisions, which would be the counties in Hawaii, and it still does not cause this law and this section to fall out of the domain and jurisdiction of the Civil Rights Commission. So I think these are some fatal defects that need to be addressed. At the very least, Mr. Speaker, it needs to be clarified, because it seems strange when you have a law like this that you would state that it's no such penalties, fines, injunctions, administrative proceedings, or other legal administrative liability, the failure or refusal to provide these services or solemnization of marriages, but yet you have no cause of action stated herein. It leads to some confusion on whether or not that was a legislative intent or was not the legislative intent. But as we learned from both Justice Levinson last week and from retired Judge Ahu, the law should be very clear on its face so that the courts will have judgment, will have guidance on how to implement the law. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Representative. Further discussion on this item
Speaker.
here. Yes, Representative McDermott.
Mr. Speaker, I stand in opposition to the amendment.
Please proceed.
But I appreciate the protections in here, and the fact that I do find it objectionable should give the majority pause to take a good look at it. Mr. Speaker, Section 1 and items 1 and 2 I find objectionable, and then the Section 572B, interpretation of terminology to be gender neutral. I understand we already do birth certificates as co-parent, although I'm not sure how a child can be created without a mom and dad, male and female. I haven't figured that out. I'm sure someone at the university can furnish me with a study that says that it is possible, but I haven't seen it yet, with the exception of human cloning, and maybe that's just a few years down the road. But other terms like widow, what do we say? Gender neutral spouse, still alive, of deceased, dead, gender neutral spouse. I mean, this is the tyranny of political correctness, bordering on, in my opinion, jackassery. So for those reasons, Mr. Speaker, I will not support this, but I support the intent and the good language in there that the majority should consider, because he's trying to make a point. I think he is making a point, and it should be enough there to encourage you guys to take a look at it, because I can't support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further
Mr.
discussion
Speaker.
on this item? Yes, Representative Ng.
I call for the question.
Question has been called. Is there a second to the question?
Mr. Speaker, I second that motion.
It has been seconded. Before we proceed, the mover of the motion will have an opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the 3 minutes on this important floor debate. You know, we've been hearing repeatedly through this discussion and debate that the Attorney General has approved this draft. Well, I just want to point out for the record and to enter into the record several statements that the Attorney General has made over the past several weeks on this particular Senate bill, and the reason why I need to bring this amendment to the body for its consideration. In the Senate draft that was brought in about a week ago, this is his statement. This bill will allow marriage between two individuals without regard to gender within the state of Hawaii. The Department of the Attorney General strongly supports this important measure and urges the legislature to pass it. To assist this committee, this testimony is submitted to summarize the important legal implications of the bill and how the bill's provisions relate to existing law. In the department's view, no amendments are necessary for the bill to accomplish the bill's stated intent and purposes. That was on the Senate draft. Fortunately, through the public hearing process, there was a time to debate and discuss and look at the language and propose improvements to it. And I think that was done here to some degree, although I'm not completely satisfied with it. This is the testimony that came in on the Attorney General at the House Judiciary and Finance Committee hearing. The Department of the Attorney General strongly supports this important measure and urges the legislature to pass it. To assist this committee, this testimony is submitted to summarize the important legal implications of the bill and how the bill's provisions relate to existing law. In the department's view, no amendments are necessary for the bill to accomplish the bill's stated intent and purpose. Finally, Mr. Speaker, on a statement issued on or about November 5th, the Attorney General makes these comments. We urge the legislature to pass this bill. The bill as amended is legally sound and is in accord with the Hawaii State Constitution. This bill will provide marriage equity and fully recognize religious beliefs in that context. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, Representative Saiki.
Mr. Speaker, could you please permit members to submit written comments?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, members, beginning at my left, anyone who wishes to submit, please signify. Representative Hall.
Mr. Speaker, may I please request permission to enter written comments into the journal?
So ordered.
Thank you.
Anyone else on my left that wish to submit? If not, in the middle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Finally, may I please submit written comments since I wasn't allowed to speak?
Yes, Representative, you may submit. Thank you. Anyone else wish to submit written comments in the middle?
Mr. Speaker?
On my right, written comments, Representative Foley.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Since I was not allowed to speak either, Mr. Speaker, I would like to submit written comments.
So ordered, Representative. Yes, Representative Bilotti, I'm sorry I didn't see you down there, but I'm on my right now. Representative Bilotti.
May I request to enter comments in opposition?
So ordered, Representative.
Thank you.
Anybody else on my right wish to have amendments? If not, then we'll call for the question. All those in favor of stopping debate signify by saying aye. Those opposed, say nay. All right, it has passed. So we're going to the main motion. The main motion is amendment number 21. Those in favor of amendment 21 signify by saying aye. Those opposed, say nay. Okay, thank you very much. We're on amendment number 22. Representative Oshiro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I propose floor amendment 22 be adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Clerk, has copies been distributed?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Copies of floor amendment number 22 have been distributed.
Okay, thank you very much. Representative Marcus Oshiro for the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of floor amendment number 22.
Okay, Speaker say.
I'll second the motion, sir.
It has been moved and seconded. Discussion, Representative Oshiro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Members, this is my last floor amendment for this evening. It adds the inseverability clause. It clarifies the rulemaking that's contained in this bill to Chapter 91 of the Hawaii Administrative Procedures Act. It deletes the divorce provisions that I believe are unconstitutional and creates problems for the family courts and all divorce decrees or annulments issued by the Hawaii courts. It inserts the Connecticut State's Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which I believe is core and essential to the effective implementation of the language contained within this bill. It clarifies that the religious exemption provisions to assure the immunity applies to administrative proceedings, administrative liabilities of the state, and all subdivisions of the state, including the counties and commissions. It also provides additional religious exemptions for individuals, Mr. Speaker. Let me spend some time on that. During the public hearings, both in the Senate chamber, or Senate public hearing, and especially in the House hearing over the last 5 days, I've heard many people proclaim a concern about losing their religious freedoms protected by the Constitution under the Bill of Rights when they check into work. And then when they enter their workplace in the public or private sector, they need to leave that part of their being at the door. And that part of them is left outside. What this amendment does, Mr. Speaker, is provide some protections to a sincerely held belief of an individual to bring that belief with them to the workplace and to also abide by that belief, sincerely held. It allows the person to say no to certain tasks or assignments that might be opposed upon that person, Mr. Speaker. Now, not across the board, Mr. Speaker. Not across the board against any work rules or requirements of the job. But in the instance, it's a bona fide, sincerely held religious beliefs. And, Mr. Speaker, there's another agent or another a colleague or another employee nearby who can provide the same service to the general public. That's all it does. It's real common sense thing, Mr. Speaker, and it's something that it's appropriate for people like us in Hawaii. And that's what it does here. And it addresses many of the concerns raised by those who talk about what might happen to the teachers in schools. You know, if a teacher has these deeply held, sincere religious convictions, but there's another teacher who is able to help them out and is willing to do it, there shouldn't be any problem. But that's what this amendment provides, Mr. Speaker, and that's why I asked the body to consider it. And then finally, Mr. Speaker, during the discussion and debate on this bill, I heard concerns, both within the discussion and outside, that by amending the marriage laws, we might inadvertently, run afoul of the current ERISA exemption regarding the Hawaii's Prepaid Healthcare Act. And I know for you and many here in the chamber, we know how important Hawaii's Prepaid Healthcare Act is and how we are very unique of all states in the country to have that ERISA exemption. In fact, several years ago, I believe then the chair of the Health Committee and the current colleague of mine from Pro City who's seeking higher office studied that issue carefully with the belief that the Affordable Care Act may or may not impose and disrupt that fine balance and agreement we have with the federal government regarding ERISA. But I raise this as a concern, Mr. Speaker, because I have not gotten a definitive answer on this issue that was raised. And to preserve that argument, I have put it into this floor amendment for us to consider. But Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity to offer this to the body. Thank you.
Mr. Yes, Speaker. Thank you, Representative. Representative Ng and then Har. Ng?
I rise in opposition.
Please.
This will be the only time I speak on this or any other amendment. I'd like to call for the question after as well. We live in a democratic republic, a representative democracy. We are all elected to make tough choices, and if we make the wrong choices, the people will see that we don't make any more. We were reminded of this time and time again by testifiers in our marathon 5-day, 55-hour hearing. But that's the way government works. Everyday people do not have the time to discuss these issues that affect their everyday lives. They have to work, they have to feed their kids, and lead
Mr.
their
Speaker,
lives.
Point of order. I don't know what this discussion has to do with the amendment before us.
I'll get in there. So that's precisely why the people had hired us. Representative from Laie mentioned that this issue has divided the people. But right now, who are they yelling at? Both sides. Where is all the passion, the anger, where is it directed to? It's directed at us. But the longer this drags out, the more we show that we cannot handle making the tough decisions, the more people will direct that anger to their neighbors. And we've already started to see that by the confrontations out on the rotunda. But we can end that division, and that's why the people hired us. I know that my colleagues on both sides of the issue have put more time.
Representative, you need to speak on the
amendments, these amendments. More time, more research, and have attained the most thorough understanding of this bill that they ever had on a single bill. So it's not about needing more nuancing and deliberation. We need to be real. Let's call a spade a spade. To say it's about process, and then at the last minute, we have this out of 55 hours. You introduce this much amendments that the public has never seen. To me, that's disingenuous. These are delay tactics. If
Point
we're
of
not
order, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Point of personal privilege, Mr. Speaker.
Take your point.
My point is, I find the comments of a gentleman who's making these personal remarks offensive, and he's called for the question. So after he says his
Thank you
piece,
very much,
he can sit down
Representative.
and say nothing. And
Thank
he's
you very
calling
much.
people disruptive. There's a
Recess.
TRO that one group put against another group to shut down New Hope Church. There's a TRO that was out for the
That's my
Christian
point.
coalition.
Representative, you made your
I'm
point.
doing what
Mr.
he's
Speaker,
doing.
recess.
You made
Mr.
your
Speaker,
point.
you
He's
have a
pointing
recess.
fingers. There's a TRO. The lawsuits have already begun.
Recess.